Hi, students. So today we're going to be doing something that I know is going to scare some of you, and you're going to freak out, and you're going to probably send me a message being like, Machine, I don't know how to draw. That's why I took digital art. Well, too bad, because today we are drawing, not tracing, not copying, not color picking, not using pictures. We're just straight up drawing, and I'm going to go over the basics for those of you that legit didn't pay attention in my foundation drawing and painting classes in 6th and 7th grade. And then I'm going to go over some more advanced topics for those of you that are comfortable with drawing and know how to make art by hand still. You should be able to still draw by hand. I mean, you can only be so good in Photoshop if you don't actually know how to draw. So, we're going to start with the basics. And the basics are drawing a face straight on from the front. So we're going to start with this guy right here. And I'm going to turn down the opacity of this image. And I'm just going to show you how to draw a foundation face first. And then I'm going to tell you what it is that I would like for you to do. So I've turned down the opacity on this just so that way when I draw on top, you'll be able to see what I have going on. So I'm going to use a super bright red. And I want to make sure my brush is standard. You also want to make sure your brush is set up just like mine right here. It's a hard edge circle with only Shape Dynamics checkmark. There's nothing else weird up here, and it just looks like this. That way it feels like a real actual pen. And it should be pretty small. Notice the width of the line I'm making with this little tiny dot, okay? All right. So I'm showing you a face straight on from the front. So this is your center line. If you were to draw a circle up here, there's the main mass of his head where his brain fits, right? And then here, it's your jawline. Notice a more masculine jawline is a little bit more square like this, whereas a more feminine jawline is going to be a more swooping shape like this. You see how already this right side has a slightly more masculine feel to it than this left side that has a slightly more feminine feel. So just keep that in mind when you're drawing a face. Now what we're going to do is what I call the Terminator phase, where you draw a line for where the eyes go, where the nose goes, and where the mouth goes. And then I do what I call the C3PO phase, where I draw the ocular cavities for your eyes. Your ocular cavity is where your brow bone actually sits at the top here, so it's showing you where your eyebrow is, and also your eye fits inside of there. If you poke at your face, you can feel it. All right, so, and the ears as well. Notice how tall they are. They usually go from somewhere around your eyebrows down to somewhere around your nose, but notice that they don't come very far off of the head. Cool. And then next, something important about next is you don't want for them to get thicker as they go down, because this will make them look like some really, really buff guy. So if you're drawing the Hulk, then you would do that. But otherwise for this, you're going to let it actually get kind of nice and slim. These are technically where the collarbones are. And then this is technically where the shoulders are. Is that making sense? Cool. And then also notice that your hairline actually fits on this head here. Right, so you're aiming to make a 4 head in here, not a 5 head, not a 3 head, a 4 head. And then we'll talk about hair later, right? But usually you break it up into 3 sections. The bangs, whatever they're doing, if they're going up or down or swooping to the side. If you have a center part, you can draw hair going on one side down and then hair on the other side down, but still think of it as quote unquote bangs. And then left and right side, of course. It's very important that you draw hair here on the sides of the head. So let's do that over here so that you can really see me actually draw this, not trace it, right? And this is what I expect for you to do. You are going to draw your center line. Cool. You're going to probably mark where the top of the head goes and where the bottom of the head is going to go. And then lightly in here, you're going to draw your circle. Yes. Then you're going to draw the sides of the head. They're going to be flat. Then you're going to draw your jawline. And this is your sketch. Notice that I'm not trying to do a perfect line like this. I'm being nice and light and fast with it. That's totally fine. You can still sketch in Krita or Photoshop. That's the whole point of using these programs, is that they have like a tip sensitivity that you could never do with a mouse or a finger. So we now have our Terminator face for eyes, nose, mouth. Yes. And then we're going to have our C3PO face. I used to say Harry Potter, but now I say C3PO because the other important part of this is it's showing the bridge width of the nose. If you put these too close together, it'll look really dumb. If you put them too far apart, it'll look really dumb. Once again, remember, this is showing where the eyebrows are going to sit on the face. Okay? Hairline is going to fit somewhere in here. Right? Ears are going to fit in here. They're not going to come too far off the sides of the head. Neck is going to come off like this. Yes? Is that making sense? Of course, you are welcome to take your time on this. You do not have to follow along with me at this pace, especially if you are newer to drawing faces. You absolutely do not have to draw super quickly like I am. I'm just trying to show you the basics. Okay, so now that I have this base, because I'm using a digital platform, I can turn down the opacity on my layer to make it softer. I can make it really, really soft if I want. And then make a new layer where I can now zoom in a little bit more if I choose to. I'm realizing now I kind of set this up for a right-handed person and I'm left-handed, so my hand's going to be on top of my reference photo a lot. So forgive me if I'm not actually getting likeness very well. All right, so let's actually use black now and let's talk about individual features. If you are a novice to this and you don't know how to draw eyes, you might draw eyes like this. Oh my God, no, don't do that. Don't do that, okay? Do not do that. Notice that in this picture here, because this guy is smiling a little bit, the bottom of his eye is almost a flat line. You know somebody's fake smiling if their eyes are not squinting at all, right? It's the eyes that let you know if they're smiling. And the other thing as well is notice that even if he wasn't smiling and he was relaxed, this eye shape is still pretty stinking closed right here. So if we're going to draw that eye over here, we are not going to draw a very wide open shape. Once again, I am still sketching. I am not trying to do this perfectly in one line. Okay. The other thing as well is you need to look at your reference person or photo and ask yourself, do they have an eyelid crease? And if so, how high or low is it? Because everybody's eyelid crease is different. Isn't that interesting? And then when you go to draw the iris and pupil and highlight, you want for the iris, the colored part of the eye, to be pretty stinking big. Do not make it too small. And then your pupil is also going to be pretty stinking big. Cool. And if you are drawing somebody more feminine with lashes, you can totally wing some lashes off the end there. Notice I'm not doing these spiky, scary lashes. I'm trying to keep everything really, really natural. So now that I have that, let's say I drew this eye too big or too small or not quite in the right place. I can use my lasso tool to select it and then my move tool to adjust it, or use Control T and readjust it to anything I want. I can even use my liquify as well, or even my nudge tool to nudge my lines around. There's so many cheats to do in Photoshop that you almost don't even need to use your eraser. Erasing isn't really an issue in Photoshop because you have so many other options. Now, for masculine eyebrows, you want to make sure not to arch them too much. They're usually going to be flatter and a little bit lower. But once again, when you are using your reference, you'll be able to determine, depending on the individual, what that eyebrow is doing. Cool. And then we can draw some of the bridge of the nose, I usually just do like this. It's very tempting to select this one eye, copy it, and flip it to the other side so it's perfectly symmetrical. But guess what? People look really freaky when you do that, and the eyes are always going to look really strange if you do that. I recommend only doing that if you're struggling to get the same shape even close. But you do want for these to appear to be slightly different. I am looking at my reference picture a lot. I don't know why, but you guys have a tendency to look at something once, think that you have photographic memory, and then never return to trying to look at that thing again to ask yourself, oh, how wide open is his eyes, or what color are his eyes, or where's the highlight, or where's the pupil, or is this eye different than that eye, and how is it different? You should be asking yourself a million questions and keep looking back and forth between your picture and your drawing over and over again for basically every little piece. Because this side of his face is in shadow, I maybe don't have to worry about detail too much, but I still want to get as much in as possible. Because I am working in Photoshop, if I want to draw in some forms or shapes that help me figure out what's going on, I can do that because I can completely 100% erase it. I don't have to worry about being heavy-handed in Photoshop. It's like so many reasons to use it. It's so wonderful. All right, so notice also I'm starting with the eyes and eyebrows, and then I'm going to do the nose and mouth, and then I'm going to adjust the jawline to work with the features that I've drawn. So for my nose, I am not doing this. I'm also definitely not doing this. I don't even know what that is, right? And I'm also not doing that, right? I'm kind of doing a combination of these two, though. And L noses should only ever be in pieces of art by Matisse or whatever, right? And even then, I don't really care for them. So nostrils, we're not looking straight up at the nose, so these are kind of like fat parentheses. And then the actual wings of the nose. Now, everybody has a different nose shape. So once again, you need to be referring to your photo to figure out what nose shape you're dealing with. This little thing right here is called the philtrum. And it actually helps you figure out how high or low the cupid's bow of that top lip should be. So I'm noticing now that the red line that I drew for where I wanted to put my mouth is a little low. So I'm just going to draw my mouth higher than that and not worry about it. Because my guideline is there to help me. And if it's not helping me, then I'm going to ignore it. And notice also for mouths, I do not take the lips all the way out to this corner that I drew. I actually let the bottom lip fall short of that, because if you bring it all the way out to the edges, you end up with like Kim Kardashian lips, or even sassier than that, like these kind of funny over-the-top lips. Especially for masculine lips, you want to make sure these lines don't get too curvy. They're actually going to be kind of simple and straight. I'm also noticing now that I actually made my top lip just a little bit fuller than it is in the reference picture. So I'm going to erase it and slightly adjust it to where I want. Cool. Once again, if I feel like I did not put a feature quite where I want for it to be, I can even use my arrow keys if I want to be very specific about it. I'm going to say for you guys, even don't be afraid to try putting some extra lines into the face to help show the form and what's going on, because they can be fully erased when we draw traditionally. That's not usually the case. I say lightly a million times. Notice that in Photoshop, I don't need to say draw lightly because it doesn't really matter. And now I'm finding the edge of the face and deciding if it works well. With the features that I do. So make sure while you're working that you have your sketch layer here, and then you have your line layer here, and then there's going to be a paint layer on top of that, or under that. Actually, it's okay to have a paint layer underneath your line if you want to leave your line work in. Especially if you have like really nice line work and you want for something to stay looking a little bit more cartoony, I'm totally fine with that. That's kind of the point of this project, is I want for you to feel comfortable doing something that is clearly done by hand in whatever style you enjoy and feel comfortable with. So if you have a tendency to draw faces or eyes a little bit cartoony, or if you have a tendency to draw eyes really big, or if you like to put really, really extravagant lashes on people, it's all fine and it's all good. You are welcome to it. I'd way rather see you do that than trace the thinking face. And also, I'm an experienced artist and not an idiot, so don't try to trick me into thinking that you drew something by hand when you traced it. I'll be able to tell instantly. Unlike your mom when you lie to her about like where you've been, and she's like, yeah, right. Okay, so notice I just found this shape. I wasn't thinking too much about, oh my god, that's a jacket and that's a zipper. I'm just trying to find the actual shapes that are happening in my photo. Clothes really, 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 really needs to wrap around everything. Arms, necks, torsos, everything needs to wrap around the actual body. Otherwise, you'll ruin the optical illusion of 3D-ness and form. All right, so let's finish this guy off really quickly. I don't have too much to say. What I will say actually is I have done this for a long time, so I might be kind of fast in comparison to the speed at which you draw. I want for you to take your time. I want for you to attempt to do the best drawing you've done so far in your cute little life, right? I don't want for you to do something mediocre and slam it out at the exact same time that I'm talking right now. That would be kind of lackluster. This is your opportunity also to choose to draw somebody potentially in your household or yourself. In fact, I'm going to be referring to this a lot as a self-portrait project. So I highly, highly, highly recommend that you're going to be using a photo of yourself. For hair, you always want to draw the length of the hair and the direction that it's going. If I draw really short lines to try to draw these long pieces of hair that he has on top of his head here, it's not going to look right. It's going to look like he's having a really bad hair day. And he's having a little bit of a crazy hair day, actually. I think I might personally get rid of this piece up here. All right, so this is for my newbies and novices at actually drawing portraits. All right, you're going to do a straight on view of somebody using this base process. Okay, now when I say using this base, that means that you're still going to be referring to your photo to figure out if you need to make your chin smaller or your ears bigger or your hairline a specific shape before you get into this portion of drawing. All right. For those of you that actually know what they're doing, we're going to move on to some more advanced topics. For those of you that are like, okay, Machina, that was already a lot on my plate. I'm ready to do some portrait drawing in Photoshop or Krita. What I want for you to do is take a picture of yourself or a family member that has really good lighting and color. I know you guys are fully capable of this. This is the era of selfies. I'm sure you already have an embarrassing number of photos of yourself on your phone. You can use any of those. It just needs to have really good lighting and color. So my example over here has really, really great lighting and color. Um, this here also is a good example of great lighting and color. And same thing also for this one. Yes, you probably want to have a simple background. We're not really worried about backgrounds for this project. I just want for you to do the best portrait painting you've ever done. So yes, this is part 1, where you're going to be taking your photo, you're going to be referencing it, and you're going to be drawing it to the very best of your capabilities and emailing it to me, this version, right? And I do want to make sure, once again, you need to have your sketch layer and then your line layer. And you should be taking a lot more time on it than I have, okay? All right, so if this has been plenty of info for you, goodbye, good luck. For those of you that are like, Bashina, oh my God, that was so boring, I know how to do that. Let's talk about some more fancy things. So over here, we have a picture that is in 3/4 view portrait. So when we go to draw those base features, we're going to have a slightly different setup. So once again, on my sketch layer here with red, I'm going to show you what I mean. Your center line now is not going to be straight down. It's not going to be straight down over here either. It's going to curve with the face like this. Your eye line, nose line, and mouth line are going to be very similar, but they're going to fall most importantly on that new center line that you've drawn. Notice that this side of the face is going to be substantially shorter than this side of the face, which is hidden by hair, but we'll kind of fake it, right? And yes, you still have the ball up here for the main beak. Okay, so this side of the face, far less, right? And then you have your chin here, and then you have your jawline here, very important. And if you could see her ear, it would be here. Cool. Now that we're starting to see it at the side, there's her neck going from behind her ear. And she might have a little bit more to the back of her head here, just a smidge. Cool. The other very important thing that's going to happen is we are going to see this side of the nose as a line. So we actually want to draw a little bit of a line. And the ocular cavities are going to remain the same height this way, but this one's going to end up really squished. So where this one is a perfectly round circle, this one now is really, really squished that way. Cool. Also, at some point, if I'm drawing women, particularly with very pouty mouths, I will sometimes just draw a shape like this to show the plumpness of the lips. And it's not so much about following those procedural aspects of drawing faces. It's about trying to find the shapes and forms. I sometimes have teachers that have shown me things where they say this is the side plane of the face, but who cares about that, right? I don't know. It's never really done much for me. If you have somebody with really fancy hair, you don't have to worry so much about the hairline in some incidences, like this one. But we do want to make sure that we get nice overlapping to really show that that piece is coming in front. Cool. I'm actually going to bring up this sketch layer so you can see better what I just did. Yes, I know it looks kind of crazy like that. The other thing as well is when you start to get into some more stylized drawing, finding these overall shapes can create, and emphasizing them a little bit, can create this really, really beautiful effect with all these like waving, ripply lines. It's all very much a whole sense of like softness and smoothness that's very feminine and helps out this particular type of portrait a lot. So I'm feeling lazy. Let's just take this guy and move it over here. Cool. And let's turn on the opacity again. Aw, my cat Kitsu, what does she want? I fed you. My cats always want food. Okay, So now let's switch to black. And what do I want to emphasize here? I want to emphasize that when you have a face turning from you, it's still going to pinch in here. Yeah. Don't forget that. Some people get scared about placing this eye because it's squished and they're afraid things are going to get really, really weird. But as long as you've drawn your ocular cavities and you don't forget to actually draw your cheekbone and brow bone ridge over here, things will usually work out pretty well. Notice that here, her eyebrow actually goes off the edge. However, her eye fits pretty well and pretty neatly right inside of this piece right here. If you have a specific way of drawing noses that you like, that's very cute, you're welcome to do that. That's fine. And also notice for this nose, it's mostly this side of the nose that we're seeing, and there's just a smidge of nostril over there, not very much of anything at all. She has a particularly cute face, so we're really, oh, and notice how much this is going to help me as well with seeing that the philtrum, this guy that's helping me find the Cupid's bow, is very short on her because her lips are so full, and her Cupid's bow is pretty shallow because once again, that lip is so full. Her mouth is even open a little, but we're not going to worry too much about that. And we are going to worry about how this side of the mouth is going to be a lot shorter than this side of the mouth. Everything on this side is going to be kind of squished in a little, and it's turning away from the viewer. And don't be afraid to exaggerate things a little bit. If you think they look cool, you are welcome to that. So this eye fitting in here, very important that it doesn't fall off the edge of the face in relationship to our reference photo. Once again, you want to be looking at your reference photo a lot to help you out. Once again, you need to look and see if you can find an eyelid crease and how high or low it is. And let me bring that image back up again so we can see it a little bit better. There we go. And then once again, her eyebrows are extremely long, very elegant. So they're going to fall off the side of her face over here. And they're going to start in. Notice once again, I'm placing them using the circle we drew for the ocular cavity. It's going to help you a lot with placement so you can focus on the actual features and not whether or not you're putting them in the right place. Usually the foundation is like the most important part where people rush through it because they want to get to the exciting fun part of drawing lashes and painting and all that. But really where you're going to nail it is if you get this red base correct. And then here is your other eye. Here's some lashes. Here's how high and the shape of her eyelid crease. Cool. And then for hair, let's talk a little bit more about hair here. Once again, I'm drawing the shape and direction that the hair is traveling. Now, what's not important is drawing every single stinking line. Instead, we want to break it up into sections. So I'm going to say this is a section. I'm going to say this is a section. And notice how I'm kind of doing this like zigzaggy edge to show that that's where the hair ends. And they're almost like ribbons. The other thing as well that I might want to draw to help me when it comes to painting later is this little halo region right here where the light is hitting the hair and it's helping to show the roundness of her head and the way that the hair is wrapping around the head and everything is very cool. And also because I am drawing over here and not tracing, I can change and stylize the hair to be the way that I want. So if I want for these bangs over here to wrap around a little bit and have a prettier edge or nicer shape, I can make it do that. Because I'm in charge. This is technically right here, the root, I'm pretty sure she's wearing a wig, the root of the wig, like, you know, the part in the hair. So it's kind of important to get that in the right angle. And this whole ribbon piece, we want to draw it as ribbon pieces. It's going to help us so much when we're painting to think of it as a ribbon, and then we can add actual line texture in by just color picking some of the colors that you already laid down for your ribbon. And since we don't have an ear, we don't have to worry about it. Notice I'm still trying to use as long lines as possible to show the length and direction that the hair is. Oh my God, I've said that so many times now. I'm so over it. Right? Length and direction that the hair is going. Also, I highly recommend, if you feel capable of doing it, go ahead and get in a shoulder, a little bit of body, some clothes. It's just going to help a lot. Instead of just having a floating head, you'll have a slightly more like classical type portrait going on. Notice that in here you can really see her collarbone and trachea, and then the hair falls in front, and since her body is turned, there's her chest there. Cool. So let's pop in a little bit more hair over here, and then let's move into the last example really quick. All right. Oh, and the other thing too is, if it helps you, you can do a little bit of shading in this phase, just so you can say that you're aware of where your shadows are going to go. That's okay. That's fine. And of course, once again, I rushed through this. I expect for you to do a lot more than that when it comes to your portrait. You're also going to be drawing larger, not doing 3 small little baby drawings. So really like commit to the photo you've chosen to reference off of. So for this last one, notice that this area over here gets specifically, hold on, let me pull these pictures underneath. The center line is particularly far over here. This is the bridge of the nose. Notice his nose shape is very different than the one we were just dealing with. And notice how much more pinched this eye is inside of this side of the shape. He has a more prominent brow bone with a lot less cheekbone, because that's a more masculine attribute. And notice how little eyebrow we see before it turns away onto the side of the face. I particularly wanted to pull this photo because the amount of face that's turning away on this side is really nice. Don't do anybody completely in profile, but something like this is really, really great to work with. You usually get a good result. The other reason why I like this photo as well is because if I were drawing this for me to work off of for color later, I would go ahead and draw in some of these shadows, because they really help describe the form a lot. Like this shadow area here, and even some of the shadows here happening on his nose, are going to be so helpful. Just do that with a lower opacity or with a smaller brush, and then it's going to be like almost creating a paint by numbers for yourself when it comes to actually painting. Cool. So notice how little lip on this side, how much more lip on this side, how little on this side. It's almost like puffing out because it's turning away from us at that particular angle. Notice he has more chin compared to the one we were just dealing with. Notice the slightly more angular jaw. Ear fits there, right? I'm going to very sloppily kind of put some of this in. Oh, and the hair in here is also really, really great. It has good volume. What you never want to do, or well, you can do, but I highly recommend that you should avoid, is hair that's pulled straight back tight into a ponytail or a bun. It's extremely difficult to get that to work in a nice manner. Okay, so sloppy, 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 whatever. So that way when I move this over here, you can notice the amount of jaw space that she has here is very different than the amount of jaw space we're dealing with over here. Cool. Notice the amount of face on this side is even less than the amount of face on this side, but because she has a slim chin, it gets really narrow down here, right? This is like a way like fuller face with a cute small chin. This is a more masculine face with a fuller jaw. Cool. Does that kind of make sense? I also recommend that you don't just use the cookie cutter way that I show you how to do eyes. So if you're dealing with a more masculine eye and you want to draw it with just angled lines, here's my brush. Boop. Oh, I saw the selection. There we go. You want to draw it with more angled lines because you think that would be cool. You are welcome to do that. Right? If you want to do that as opposed to doing this whole like cheesier, like follow Machina's directions type thing, right? And you want to do straight lines or something totally different, you want to stylize your line work and way of drawing, you are welcome to. This is a great time for me to remind you that I have a Pinterest that already has these reference photos that I'm using and a whole bunch of other portraits as well that I can quickly and easily say are great examples of what you're going for. So that is pinterest.com/Sheena Klemoski. Yes, so it's my old last name. If you don't have a Pinterest yet, I thought that Pinterest was for women planning their weddings. And then once I actually got on to Pinterest, I was like, oh, wow, this is great. I love this a lot. So I highly recommend it. I have a whole bunch of other categories in here that even have like backgrounds and figure drawing and a whole bunch of other stuff. So if you haven't already checked that out, this can help you so much. All right, guys. So happy drawing. Good luck. And I will chat with you soon. Bye.